Travels of the Ellis Arbor is a TTRPG story set in the world of Bastion using the Vagrant Sun campaign setting. Tune into episode 35, Connections. Hurriedly, the pair turned down the nearest alleyway, dispensing with the bodies of their foes. Fortunately, only one met their demise by Darian's hand. The others were easily dispatched. Their wounds bound and their legs tied so as to prevent pursuit. Carpathian and Darian afforded little time until the local militia arrived to investigate the scene. With the assistance of Carpathian's magic, all the while keeping to the shadows, they slunk closer to the eastern edges of Denea's Mere and the Jewdowns trade district. When they were certain they had not been followed, they took a moment to catch their breath, the light of day slowly folding into evening. They had not realized how much time had passed since their arrival in Denea's Mere. Their pace must quicken, lest Edward and more be left in the clutches of these rogues ever long. Having pocketed them during their skirmish, Darian unfurled the paper scratches he'd been handed by Carpathian hours before. He leafed through each one, ignoring as much of the obvious minutiae about Nout and his capricious whereabouts. Instead, he favored information about the trade district, allusions to this band of rogues, and their business practices therein. It took little sleuthing to deduce that Denea's Mere was presently under some kind of ruthless occupation. As their informant wrote, the group known as the Marvelous Band had taken up residence within the Jewdowns refinery mill and cleared it of any semblance of ironwork. Instead, it played host to no less than 100 rogues. Many were detailed within, their callous acts coupled by the monikers they gave each other. Bruiser, Cadence, Ramble, Crow, each of them more peculiar than the last. As far as Darian could deduce, each member had earned their titles and their station within the band. A thought that would have passed him over had he not recognized a few notable entries. One, a crossbowman named Arvel, yet to receive a moniker, but assigned an impressive station thanks to his smuggling of over 1,000 gold pieces of Ethereum dust, the very same smuggler that had led them out of the city walls. Another, more notorious rogue named the Slinker, denoted next to a name that they could scarce forget: Killian Bisk. Apparently, Killian had made a name for himself, scuttling the waterways beneath the city and passing information between key stakeholders. But none gave him pause like the final and most recent entry on the list. Goblin was described as a squat fellow, one that wielded a powerful kind of enchantment magic. With his combined effort, he was successfully able to sequester a large sum of gold, enough to barter passage through the Kobolite paths, northward toward the forested realm of Northreach. The remainder, as it explained, he donated to the Marvelous Band to attempt to hush these events and cover the remnants of his handiwork. There, neatly scribed under these events, a tidy description of the individual in question. Goblin is described as a stout, green-skinned man with a mop of black hair and wielding a magical spear and an enchanted shield. There could be only one that matched that description. Both the captain and the wizard contemplated this astonishing revelation. In the month that preceded his escape, Nout had somehow managed to convince a band of mercenaries to cover his escape and earned their respect through his impressive deeds. But of course, as Darian pondered, he would expect no less from a member of the Ellis Arbor.
What do you make of this, Carpathian? Do you think Nout remains in Denea's Mere? Has he already left on whatever voyage lies beyond?
A curious silence fell over Carpathian as he pondered the question.
I've not thought long on the peregrinations of our green-skinned friend,
He and I rarely share the same acute sense of ambition. Though, if I were to make an assumption, I'd say he's done no less than whatever it takes to be rid of us.
We'll see. I've not given up hope on him. There's little we can hope to achieve without our full strength. Why else would I have come after you?
A very rare event. Carpathian grunted under his breath, a retort that could almost be described as stifling a laugh. I believe that in another age, you'd admit that you came after me because you required my assistance, Darian. And thus, the pair waited until the night had truly fallen. The cool, comfortable winds of the evening gave way to a stifling chill. They pulled their clothes tight, covering their faces and mouths. Not only would it serve to stay the pressing cold, but their faces may yet be recognized by those who saw their prior combat. Sidling along alleyways and under awnings, they ebbed their way closer to the tall, ramshackle building that was once the Dew Downs refinery, now a den of robbers, thieves, and brigands. Despite their efforts, their approach was unnoticed. They knew well the ways of shadow. Darian effortlessly slipped between veil and corner, even stalking a guard or two before slipping away. Carpathian could less afford to slip by, instead relying upon his magic for locomotion. When Darian had cleared a path, he followed quickly behind. For those stretches where the local guard could not be evaded, he simply tapped his staff on the ground, stepping through a misty portal to another darkened awning. Ravens cawed upon corrugated rooftops. Rats scuttled between rancid puddles. The sound of melting ice and snow trickling between cobblestones and draining away to the sewers below. All were masking the sounds that Darian and Carpathian used to stalk their way toward the refinery. Until, looming in the near distance, they saw it. A broken scaffold of roof tiles jutting awkwardly at upward angles. The remains of a windmill, long bereft of function, now still against the buffet of icy winds. Beneath its arbor, 3 floors of glass windows and reinforced stone walls appeared. Hot, glowing embers lit the interior beyond. A nearby sign swung freely, creaking against the cold wind. Beneath, the remains of the words Dew Downs were scratched out, and a banner was bolted to its front. Now, it simply read as The Refinery, accompanied by a piece of sheet metal adorned with a crosshatch of black and white squares.
Do you recognize that symbol?
That flag. Indeed. The rogues we dispatched bore a similar cloth. In fact, I believe a number of figures I saw while meeting with our informant bore those colors. Brash and brandish, if you ask me.
Indeed. As did the figure that met me in our lodgings.
And stepping round the open lane, they slunk toward the out wall. A fence that ringed in the interior refinery and a number of buildings within. The heavy sound of footfalls crunching upon the snow-locked walkways within. At a guess, Darian imagined there must be a dozen or more sentries, just inside the walls. I fear we'll need more of an advantage to get inside. I don't fancy setting an entire courtyard ablaze just to enter.
I don't think we'll need to.
Darian's eyes wandered, scrying a circular edifice of cobblestones with a large metal covering. The sewers, he thought, would lie just beyond.
Perhaps we can take a cue from our old foe, Killian. Surely, these ratways are easier to navigate, unnoticed.
travels of the Ellis Arbor is made possible by the generous support of our subscribers, followers, and most notably, our patrons. Thanks to all our Moon, Wedge, Crown, and Hex tier patrons for supporting us so far on this journey. Please subscribe, give a like or a comment, follow us on Twitter, and stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure you follow us here on YouTube, on Spotify, and on twitch.tv/lonomy. Don't forget, take care of each other.